Okay, sorry. Yeah, thank you for reminding.
No, no problem.
So yes, so class and object, okay, is a different way of programming, okay, and the expectation is that now that after class and objects, you know class and objects, you should start programming in this fashion only, okay, in class and object fashion only. Everything we do has to be like class and function object. So we know we have been using class and object, right? When we created a dictionary object, right? So we said that dictionary is a class, and when we say ABC equal to curly bracket value, you say that ABC is object of class, and when you say ABC dot, you are able to access the methods of the class, right? So we learn how to create class and methods. But before that, what is significance of class? Okay, significance of class is that the way that we work, okay, the way that our daily life is, the real life is, we actually tend to behave like class and objects. Okay, what it means is, now if you look at say training as a function, right, what we are doing training right now. Now training is one of the small portion of our life, right? So at my 6 a.m. we all come, we are together for an hour and then we go back, right? But as an individual, we have a lot of other things, right? So if you take list, append is just one function of list, right? So far, what we've been doing is we're focusing on the work in hand. Oh, add two numbers, how to add two numbers. Okay, but adding two number is just small portion of big class, right? Appending is just one method among many method in a list. Okay, so that's how real life is, and we are trying to mimic real life. Now, what is class? What is class and what is object? Okay, now class is definition. Okay, so when we all say we are human being, there's certain characters that get associated. Okay, now for example, if I tell you I have a dog as pet, then there are some characteristics that you will understand. Okay, you will not ask me how many legs it has, how many tails it has, how many eyes it has, right? But you will ask me what breed of dog it is, right? What color it is. So when you define something, okay, that is called class. So you define a class. Okay, once class is defined, okay, you understand some characteristics, right? I always give the example of apple. So if I tell you that I'm eating an apple, now we all know what apple is because we've been taught what apple is, correct? But if I tell you something that, let's say, you have not heard before, then you'll ask me what is that? That means that class has not been defined. Okay, so you define apple, but to use apple, right, we have to create object. So class is definition. We all know what apple is, generally what the shape of apple, what it is used for, and things like that. But if I have to own an apple, if I have to eat an apple, I have to create object of class apple. So we say object is instant of class. It's like you make class usable form, right? And in a crude way, class is nothing but collection of variables and functions. Okay, it's variables and collection of you put few variables and functions together and you call it class. For example, if I tell you dog, what does it mean? There are some properties which are putting together, right? Number of legs, number of eyes, tail, etc. So now things which are common, okay, like for example, apple, you will not ask me what is the shape of apple. Okay. For dog, you will not ask me how many legs it has, right? So things which get associated with the class are called class level. You will have functions and variables. Okay. So number of legs becomes a variable, right? And you will not ask me, does your dog bark, right? Every dog bark, right? So that is a method or properties of class specific to my dog, color of the dog. Okay, that is specific to my dog. No, it doesn't mean that all the dogs have same color. So that is specific to object. We call them object level variables and functions. So class will have functions and variables. You can have class level functions, class level variables, object level functions, object level variables. And there's some properties we generally talk about it. We talk about inheritance, encapsulation, polymorphism, encapsulation. These four are the main abstraction. I think I'm told twice. Abstraction. These are core properties of classes which you do understand. Okay, not very difficult. And first we'll see how to use a class, and then we'll get into these properties. Okay, so I said class is nothing but, in a crude way, okay, it's a collection of some functions and some variables. So let me create a class, okay, and I will say class, say person, right? So you define a class using class keyword followed by a variable name or class name, basically. Okay, so class person. Okay, so this becomes your class person. And inside this, you can define some variable, let's say population. And I'm saying 0. Okay. Now, population, okay, will be a class level variable, right? So if I ask you the population, right, population of human being will be same value, right? So it doesn't matter whether I ask you or somebody else. It is population. Now, then there you'll have some function. Let's say display info. Okay. Now, display info is a function. So how do you define a function? You have to say def. Okay. And when you say def here, okay, and PyCharm is clever enough, so it adds self. Okay, I told you we have class level and object level information, right? A variable or method. So when you see self, okay, it means it is object level. So display information is not a class level variable, it's a object level of, not variables, it's a function, right? It's a object level function, object level method, right? So it's, it's a display info. And I just say here, we'll make it a little complex slowly. Hello, how are you? Okay. Now, since it's an object level, it should change, or it can change specific to every object. Okay, it can change specific to every object. But if I have to define a class level variable, okay, I'm going to say here, so class method. Okay, so if we have to define a class level function, if you have to define a class level function or method, you have to put this @class method. @class method. That's how you have to put it. Okay. So, and then you say here def, say, or display population nodes. Display population. Okay. Now you see, since I put class method on top, it gave me CLS. So when you see CLS, it means it's a class level method or variable. Okay. And here I say CLS dot, or I'll print it. Print population is CLS dot population. It's a variable, right? So we have seen, sorry, excuse me. So we have seen class level variable, class level method, object level method. We haven't seen object level variable. So to create object level variable, okay, you can pass a value here called name, let's say. Name will be unique to every person. So let's say, so let's say, hello, how are you? Okay. And to create an object level, you will say self dot, okay, a variable name. Need not be same. Okay. I can say self dot anything equal to name is the variable that I'm passing to it, right? So it's reading. So it's argument that is being passed, because see, it's object level, right? Object level will be different for different object. You cannot put it in the class, right? Because whenever object is created, that's when you need to pass the object level variable. So you say display info self comma name, self dot name equal to name, and print hello, how are you? My name is, and you can give curly bracket here and say F, and you say self dot name, right? Self dot name means it's an object level name. Okay, great. So self dot name equal to name. Let me increase the population count. That means every time an object is created, that every time a person is created, right? Object means you are creating a class, object for class person. So every time a person is created, I want to increase the size of population by 1. So I'll say person dot, right? Now CLS is not available here. CLS we created here. Okay. Now see here, we can put ABC also, doesn't matter. Okay. If you put ABC, you have to put ABC everywhere. ABC, ABC. Okay. So that indicates that it's ABC is representing object. But okay, initially don't get confused. Okay. I just want to show you that self need not be self only. With whatever first variable you write here, same thing you can write, same thing you have to write everywhere to indicate it's a self. It's a object level. Okay. But self is the international standard. Everywhere you will see self only. Okay. That's why we use self, but you can write anything. Okay. So it need not be just self. Similarly, if it's the first variable that you put in the bracket is CLS. Everywhere it is CLS. Okay. But you can write XYZ and here it will be XYZ. Okay. Now,
Can we write here also self swap name instead of
no. You cannot write same name, right? How can you say apple is equal to orange? Okay. If you say apple equal to X, then orange cannot be X.
Okay, once it is declared, different names we need to use.
Correct. So you can say, let's X be apple, you can say, right? And then if you have already used X equal for apple, so you can, then you have to say Y equal to oranges, right? You cannot say X equal to apples and X equal to oranges, right? So, okay. So if you reserve self here, then you can't use self here. You can do CLS here and you can do self here. That is fine. Okay. X equal to apple, Y equal to oranges, right? Something. So, but you cannot use same thing. How can you say same thing, right? They are different. So you can't use same name. Okay. So yeah. So self dot name and how are you? My name is self dot name. And what I'll do, since CLS is not applicable here, available here, CLS, see the name we have to create within the definition here. So since CLS is available here, I just put CLS dot population because population is a class level. It is outside any function. It's a class level. But here we don't have CLS available, correct? Since it is not CLS available, I am saying person dot population. Okay, to indicate that's a class level, the class name dot population plus equal to 1. So every time object is created, I'm incrementing the population by 1. Okay. Okay, so we have one object of every type, right? Population is a class level. This is your object level. Name is a object level, and this is a class level method. Okay, let's now start calling. So this is function definition. So when we use list, tuple, dictionary, all those classes, right? We have used multiple classes, right? So in the backend, okay, a class like this is declared. Okay, def append, def, with complete step, it is, it is declared, and which is hidden from us. Okay, this is what we call as encapsulation. Okay, encapsulation means you are hiding the information. Now, if you take example of car, okay, most of the books will take example of car. So what happens when to drive a car, you don't need to know how engine works, right? What happens if you press brake, how does brake gets applied? No, To drive a car, you just need to know the application of ABC, right? Accelerator, brake, and gear, or clutch, right? Or your gear. Those are the things that you need to know. That's all. Steering, okay? You don't need to know what is happening inside. So when we use list, right? We just need to know what is append, what is remove, what is insert, correct? We don't need to know how does append work, right? Because we were like drivers. We were only using those things. Now here we are making car. So if you are making car, you need to understand each and everything. Okay, so we are making our own class. So class is created. A simple class with all 4 types of members that we discussed is created. Now how do we use it? Simple. I'm going to say P1 equal to, and P1 is the object name. Of course, you can give anything, right? It need not be just P1, you can give ABC, whatever. Equal to, I have to say person, followed by bracket open and close. That means P1 has been declared as a object of person. Now, when I don't call this is like definition only, right? This is like definition. We are not using it. Okay. Now to use it, I'm saying P1 equal to person. Now I'm using it, right? Okay. So object P1 is created and you want to see the type of P1. So you'll say print type of P1. And when you run it, see it says main dot person. Why main? Class person we understand, okay, it's a person. But why did it say main? When do you get main? This is a name, right? Main you get when you call the same file. I'm calling P1.
Yeah, from
Okay.
P1 itself we're calling.
Right? So now if I go to P2, okay, and in P2 I say import
P1 dot.
P1.
Import
And now if I say P1 dot, okay, you get person here, right?
Yes, person
Right?
class name.
Is a class name, right? So what I'll say from P1 import person. And now if I say P1 equal to person, okay, and let me run P2. No error, right? Now this is coming from the other file, okay, P1 here. So for a second, let's comment this out. And here, okay, nothing will get printed. Now you say print, okay, type of P1. You see P1 dot person. What is P1 dot person? So person is the class which is in P1. So P1 dot person, right? So the name here is P1. From which location are you calling? Okay, so if you call the same, yes.
From P1 you said like instead of P1 we can give whatever names we can give, right? Like
Yes, but right now we are giving only P1, right?
I mean to like in P1 if you give ABC and here you give some XYZ, no, nothing matters, right? Like
No, this is the module name, right? This is the file name. How can it be different?
okay.
Our content is in P1 only,
Yeah,
right?
okay.
Right. Our content is in P1, so you have to say P1 only, right? Yeah. Okay. So so here it's a P1. So that's the name, right? That's why we say name equal to main. You can say name equal to. So name underscore underscore name underscore underscore is what you get P1 here. Okay. Going back to P1, let's continue. So we get P1 and this is of type P1. Okay. Now I need to call this. Now technically speaking, if you see, okay, now we'll first run and then we'll talk about that. So person, when I say the object is created, now I have to call the members of the object. So I can say P1 dot display info, right? Display info. When you run it, okay, display info one required positional argument. See, we have two arguments, self and name, right? But it says only one missing. Now you remember when we did append in list, okay?
Self is object, I think.
L1 equal to, we said 3, 4, 5. And now when you say L1 dot append, so see, self, object, right? We never give value for self. We said 5. So we don't expect to give value for self. Self is is to indicate that it is to indicate that it is
Object.
object level variable. Yes. So we don't have to give value for self, but we have to give value for name. Okay. So display info. Let's say I give such a. Now when you run it, so see, hello, how are you? My name is Sachin. Okay. Hello, how are you? My name is. Okay, why I'm calling from P2. That's why I was wondering why it is showing P1 dot person. I'm calling from P2. Hey, I need to call P1. So hello, how are you? My name is Sachin. Right? So you call display info. Now display info also increase the population count by 1. Right? It increased the population count by 1. So that means, okay, now population count is +1. So if I say print P1 dot population. Now, since population is a class level, you can call using any object. Okay, you can call using display. I mean, any member of the class will give you same answer, right? So if I ask you, no, let's say if we all are in same city, so the temperature at that given time will be same for all of us, isn't it? So city becomes a class. We all are object of the class. Temperature is the class level variable for that entire class, right? For the entire city members. So temperature will be same for all of us, right? Because we are part of the same class. So whether I say P1 dot population, okay, or I say, okay, so don't get confused this P1 with the file name, okay? This is, now I realize, okay, the same. But when
Yeah, that's why I too got
yeah.
confused.
No. Okay. So I just
I was
realized that,
change the file name or this name or P1 to some F1 or something.
yeah. So, okay, I'll say object 1. Okay. Okay. So, okay, you get this. So I can create multiple objects. I can create O1, I can create O2, O3, O4, O5. Okay, so now I have 5 objects. Okay, 3, 4, and 5. Now display info for each of these 5. So I have to say display info Sachin and 5 times. Okay, so 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, and let's give a different name. Okay, right? So now when you call this, okay, so you get hello, how are you? Now you see, okay, so you see here, when I say type O1, that's fine. O1 dot population, O1 is the first object, but still it gave us 5, right? Still O1 gave us 5. O1 gave us 5 because we created 5 objects. So 5 times population got increased. 5 times population got increased by 1. 5 times population got increased by 1, right? So since it's a class level, whether you call O1 dot population or O5 dot population or person dot population, it's all the same. Okay, O3 dot population will also give us 5 because it's a class table, so everybody will have same answer to that. But if I say O1 dot name, okay, and O3 dot name, it is going to be different because it's an object level variable. Okay, so O1 dot name is Sachin and O3 dot name is Sunil. This is what we give. O3 we give Sunil and O1 we give Sachin. So it is able to maintain that. Yes or no? So object level variables or object level methods are very unique to object. It will have the object specific information. So in this case, O1 dot name, name is an object level variable. So it's storing the object specific name. Like I told you, like breed of the dog. Breed of the dog is unique to the dog that I have, you have, right? So it will be different for all of us. But it is like that number of dogs, or let's say number of legs. It is going to be 4 for all of us. Okay. So this is an example of simple class and object. So what it says is, whenever if you have some action to do, it's like human being, right? It's like me, Saurav. Okay. Okay, this is me, Saurav, and these are the values that I have. Okay, and it's a class time, so let me do class here. Training, train time. Let me do training here. Eating time. Let me do eating. So you can define def training, def eating, def sleeping. All my activities will be like a method, and whenever I have to do something, it is like object dot, right? So those are unique to me, right? It so happens that training for all of us happens at same time, right? But need not happen, right? You might do some other training as well. So, okay, what I'm trying to convey here is that the way we behave in real life, okay, that's how exactly class and object kind of programming were developed to kind of mimic the real life situation. So programming in object oriented is very close to how we actually behave as human beings. That's why this has gained popularity. And olden program like C, okay, was procedural, but C++, okay, was an effort to make object-oriented programming. Okay, same way with Java and now Python. Python, even integer itself is considered as class. Okay, in Java, the basic data type like int, float, they are not considered as class. But Python, even int and float are considered as class. Everything is class here in Python. Okay.
Swapnil, since you have mentioned the class method at the rate, so we can use the CLS as we can call it, since it is class level, so we can call the population. If you haven't kept the class method, then it will also become object, right?
No. Why will this become object?
At the rate class method, you
only
mentioned.
Class, see, object what? Class will become object. P1 if you see here, O1 if you see here, O1 equal to person we are saying. So object only class will become object. And O1, when you say, see, what does class mean? Okay, it's like you define once. Okay, when you say apple, you define it once. We learn, all of us will learn in school what apple is. After that time, we are using apple as if everybody knows, right? If I say, oh, I don't know what apple is, right? It becomes a big news, right? How do you? So what I'm trying to say is O1 is an object. An object is a duplicate copy of a class. That, usable copy of class. And it's a duplicate copy. So O1 will have all the properties of class, all the properties. Okay.
Yeah, that's fine,
properties
Swapnil.
would mean your name, variables, and function. Yes, tell me.
You have mentioned that at the rate class method, right? If I remove that at the rate class method, it will also become object one, right? Like,
yes, it will also be object only.
It's like in here you have called CLS.population. We can't call CLS, right? We can call like person.population.
Exactly.
Yeah,
So
that is what my doubt.
correct. So CLS will be like self. I told you, right? Any name you can give, right? You can give any name, right? So
Since you
here,
have mentioned this is its class method, it can access the class one. So CLS is
yes,
applicable for population.
correct, correct, correct,
That is what my doubt like.
correct,
Thank
correct.
you.
Yeah, sure, sure. I told you, right? You can call ABC, right? Or you
Yeah,
can call
since that is
CLS also.
object level, the
Ex
class level is not we can call. So that's why we are
exactly,
taking a person dot population.
exactly, exactly.
Okay.
Okay. So okay. Now let's make one improvement to it.
We can define like how many number of class like it's like infinite, like we can define more than one or two or
Yeah,
three or
yeah,
something.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah, got
Okay.
it.
But generally we don't define too many because it becomes difficult to manage also, right? And that's why what we say is related, relevant. Okay. So when you put name person, you would have put because of thinking of something, right? Okay. So let's say human being, right? Now we don't do infinite kind of activities every day, right? We do a lot of activities, but definitely not infinite, right? So, something like that. Okay. If you put too many, then your file will become long, right? You'll have 5,000, 10,000 lines of code, and then going through and managing can become difficult, right? So yes. So, but yes, there's no limit for Python. There's no limit.
Yeah, okay, sir.
Okay. So now let's say I created 5 objects here, but I forget to call P5 or P4, right? So I created 5 objects, okay? But I called only these 3. I forgot to call this for some reason. I forgot. Now, when you run it, so population count is only 3, isn't it? We created 5 objects. So
But we are
logically,
calling only 3.
correct. So, but logically, there should be 5, isn't it? Logically, we created 5 objects. See, you
But
forgot,
we
that's a
are
different thing. Okay. But logically, it's not 3. It's a wrong information, isn't it? Okay.
no,
It's
correct or right. Population we are counting, like whatever the objects
population you're
called.
counting. So if there is a 5 birth in a city, right? Just because you don't go and register with the birth authority, okay, a government will think only 3 people lives in the city. But actually you have 5
Yes,
people living in the city.
but we are only calling 3 members.
That's what
Like
I'm
3
saying.
members.
That's wrong, no? Right? So the information that you have as a government is wrong. So what
Yeah.
did government do? How can government, make sure that correct information it has? So government says every hospital should mandatory send the information because parent can forget,
Mm,
right? So what they said, no, hospital should send the information mandatory. We don't believe parents. Okay, parent can forget, they'll come after 10 years when they read certificate, right? So hospital should send automatically and it has made it mandatory legally, right? So what happens now? There's no chance of missing. So what class has done is class says, okay, let me also make it mandatory. So there is a special function called underscore underscore init underscore 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 init underscore. I told you before also that whenever you see underscore underscore something underscore underscore, both the sides underscore, it means it's a inbuilt function which has some meaning, which has predefined meaning. So init function, okay, is a predefined function, okay, and what it means here is that this function should be called automatically. Okay, this function should be called automatically when you create an object. Okay, this function should be called automatically when you create an object. Okay, automatically this is called irrespective of what you do, right? So then here
that
what I
means
can do,
whenever object is created, it automatically count.
correct. So this statement, I'll put it here. Okay. Now, if you run here, now you see population is not in display info. So when you run it, okay, so when you call this population variable here, okay, you see it is count 5. Even though we have not called display info, right? Even though we have not called display info, it is now giving us 5. Why? Because the population count, we have put it in init. Okay. An init function is called automatically when you create an object. So when I create this object, okay, when we create this object 5 times, see, your population also got added 5 times. Now, there is no chance of you forgetting. There is no chance of you forgetting. Yes or no? So init is a special function that is called automatically the moment you create an object. So this is called here. Init is called here. Auto calling of underscore underscore init underscore underscore. Okay. When you create an object, init is called automatically. So init is actually a short form, okay, for initialization. So what it says is all the initialization you should do in init.
Like default values, we can put it in it maybe.
Yes.
Fixed values where we can't change.
Exactly. So what happens when an object is called, like you give a name, right? The giving of name is initializing. Okay. So generally, you should give all this kind of information here. Okay. So you define a here. Okay. We are initializing, right? So initializing, you have to do it here itself. Okay. So when you call this init, okay, we can give now display information doesn't take any parameter, right? So if you're giving, it's going to throw error anyways. The moment you create an object, you have to pass this variable. Okay. Now this will not work. 4 or 5 will not work. It's forcing you to pass value. Even if you forget, Python will not let you forget. See, missing one argument name. So, you might forget, but Python will force you, O4, there's a missing. So you have to give value for O4. Okay. But you are displaying 3, you get only 3 printout. That's okay. Right. But now all these are getting value here. Okay. Now you see here, I'm passing value here in init, but in display, when you say self.name, it knows based on which object is calling, you are displaying this. Right? Based on which object is calling display info, it knows what name to display here. Because the variable is stuck to the object, right? So if O1 calls, you get O1 name. If O5 calls, you get O5 name. So that's the advantage of using class and object. You don't have to pass the variable again and again to different function. In the function, what we saw, every time your function has to perform something, you pass the value to the function. But here, you don't have to pass a function. Okay. Similarly, if you again remember the list example, when we say L1.append 5, so we are saying add 5, which is fine. You are adding 5. But adding 5 to what? Did we tell them what is, you add 5 to 3, 4, 5? No, we did not tell because L1 is the object Okay, L1 is the object and it already knows that this is the list that is there for L1. So L1 append knows, okay, 5 needs to be added to L1, which is this. Same thing here. Okay, so we'll stop here today. And I want you to practice this. And tomorrow we'll talk about the other, I was telling, right? Other properties of class we'll do. Yes?
Thank you.
Yeah. Take care, and I'll share in a couple of hours. We'll have it in the same location.
Yeah, okay, Swapnil, thank you.